Hey, it's TJ from Envision. It's April 24th, 2023, and we're going to be going over the most recent SEO and AI news, specifically that which applies to local service businesses, since that's what we specialize here at Envision. And this is mostly an internal news update, but we decided we might want to share it with the world in case other people also get some value from it. So let's start with the AI news. First of all, this is really exciting to me. Google is merging Brain and DeepMind. So this is Google's two biggest AI departments, but they've been very separate. They've been treated as entirely different companies, and I think Google is just really feeling the heat with Microsoft, and so they're merging those two companies, and it's becoming Google DeepBrain. Google DeepMind? I think it's Google DeepMind. I can't remember now, actually. But it's going to be um, it's just a mystery right now in terms of what this means, if it's a big deal or not. But it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, and the AI wars surely are upon us. Google Magi. Apparently, no one in the SEO uh, industry has heard the word Magi before, so I'm just a super nerd, I guess, because I have heard 3 podcasts now where they're trying to guess if it's pronounced Magi or Magi, and it's Magi, just so you know. And there's a little bit of confusion on this, but it's exciting either way. So there's 2 things that Google's doing. They're working on a new search engine that's going to be very personalized and driven by SEO or by AI and have like a conversational interface. And then they're also bringing new features to their existing search engine. Now, according to Barry Schwartz, who I trust more than anyone, Project Magi is the name for these new features coming to Google search. And the new search engine doesn't have a name yet, or we're not aware of the name. I'm sure they call it something internally. However, according to the New York Times, Project Magi is the new search engine. So it's confusing. Those are both institutions I would trust. So I'm not exactly sure, but the important thing is that both those things are happening. So Google's looking at a brand new search engine. It would be separate from Google, driven by AI, which is probably smart because it's really hard to predict what search engines or AI tools are going to look like in the future. Might as well segment it, keep Google safe so they don't ruin their prize pig here, especially when Bing is coming for it. But then they're introducing these AI features. So primarily, it's focused on allowing people to make transactions within Google search. Google makes all their money from interactions in Google search. And so if they can help it, they want to keep you from going to a website. They want to keep you on the search engine results page. Now, website publishers don't like that, of course, but this is the trend, and this could affect us at Envision in a number of ways, and it's something we should be thinking about. I don't think there's anything to do about it just yet, but websites might become less important. I think John Mueller from Google says, nah, websites, they're always going to be super useful. We're always going to need SEO. But if it's easy, if you can go buy something on Google just as easily as you would buy something on Amazon, when's the last time you were tempted to go to the seller's website when you were looking at a product on Amazon? If you can just buy it right there and it's in your cart, it's all in one place. I think that's kind of the interface that Google would like to get to eventually, is you're essentially on Amazon, but it's every online store in the world in one place, except for probably Amazon, because they're probably not going to let Google do that. But then also with services too, right? So our clients don't sell products, they sell services. And so, but yeah, being able to book appointments, you can already do it a little bit in Google business profiles, but I think they're just going to try to make that easier and easier and really try to integrate everything, integrate it with your calendar, with Google Pay, with anything else you have connected to Google, so that it's just a seamless experience and there's as little need as possible to go to someone's website. So that's going to be really interesting. Now, there's still going to be rankings, and even in AI, there's going to be reasons why the AI recommends this business over that business. And so I think there will always be a place for us. And we'll just want to keep a close eye on why this is ranking higher or getting recommended more and what we can do to help that. My guess is that the most important thing is going to be making sure Google can find as much information about the company as possible. So right now that's websites, Google Business Profile, and a few other directories, but I think that'll grow. If you haven't heard of Stable Diffusion, it's the number one, probably number two, generative image AI software. So it creates images from text. Midjourney is probably the first one, but Stable Diffusion is open source. Their parent company is Stability AI, and they're launching their own large language model called StableLM. And it's pretty small right now, but it's open source. And so that is interesting. Now, OpenAI was originally completely open source and nonprofit, and then they decided to close, which might be the right choice. There's a lot of debate on that. But right now, they have a model with 3 billion and a model with 7 billion parameters. Now, a parameter is just like a piece of information about with which the AI can predict the next token or the next word. So it's like how many descriptors can you use to for the AI to decide what the best next word is. Now, having more parameters doesn't mean that your large language model is smarter. In fact, future large language models might have less parameters than the current ones do, but they do increase the capabilities. It seems like the number one thing is how much data you have, but pretty much everyone has unlimited resource access to data right now because there's no laws passed yet that keep AI models from scraping internet. In fact, the same company has a lawsuit against them from Getty Images for I think $3 trillion for scraping their images, but there's just no legislation on this yet. So we'll see what happens. But it's just interesting that a big company is doing an open source large language model, and that could become useful. Because even if it can't compete head to head with ChatGPT, anyone can take this and use it however they want to use it. I'm sure there's some restrictions, but we could see spin-offs that are very skilled at specific tasks. So that's interesting to see. This was a tweet from someone at OpenAI, I believe. I didn't recognize the name, but they're talking about GPT-4, and it says, soon we will be releasing the sliding window-like processing that would allow operations, summarizations, even on book-sized documents. And they're actually talking about the integration with Bing and Microsoft Edge. So the interesting part here was book-sized documents, meaning you could give Bing Chat or ChatGPT as much documentation as you need, as long as it would be book sized, I guess. Who knows how long that is, but you can give it all the documentation on a topic and then query it. I do this already if I'm using like a plugin or software and I can't figure out how to do something. I'll just copy paste the documentation, and sometimes it's too long though. Sometimes I have to find the parts of the documentation that are applicable. But in this case, I don't think any software has more than book-sized documents for the documentation, but you could also, take all the content from a website or any. There's just I think a lot of applications that we'll start to think of once we can put that much information in ChatGPT and then start asking it, okay, now that you've read every blog post from this website, what next blog should we write, or use that same style and write this blog, or I think there's just going to be a lot of cool things we can do whenever that happens. That was exciting to me. This is a little tangent. I know this is mostly SEO focused, but Google Ads has been experimenting with AI inside of their ad editor for responsive search ads. So it looks like Google's going to start recommending ad copy using Bard or Lambda. So that'll be interesting. We've already been experimenting it with ChatGPT, but that could be cool if it was just built in, especially if it's using data from your account. So we'll see what that is. Canva, which we use a lot, it's like really hitting hard on the AI game. So this was a tweet that Marie Haynes shared. Well, not from Marie Haynes, but she shared it in her newsletter about this one feature where you can just like highlight a section of an image. So here they highlighted her blouse and changed it to a different one, and it's just seamless. You can see the hair changed as well in the area that, it's the same up here. but then down where she changed it, the hair is completely different, but still looks completely natural. So yeah, Canva's like really on top of the AI thing. This isn't the kind of thing that would be useful to us, but it is impressive and it shows how quickly they're adopting things, and they kind of need to. They have to compete with Adobe Firefly, Fly, and some of these other like presentation and graphic software. Some Google news now. Google is going to be removing some of the Google Search Console reports, specifically page experience reports. They didn't give too many specifics, but starting in December, we won't be able to use the mobile usability report anymore. It just won't exist. And a few other the page experience reports. And it seems like that data is just not going to be available to us anymore. But the way they presented it makes it seem like people were maybe putting too much weight into what those reports are saying. And Google really wants people to focus just on content and user experience and not so much on like how quickly the page loads or cumulative layout shift or some of the other things these reports were showing. And we've seen a lot of times that pages will fail the mobile usability test and we can just not figure out why. And I think in a lot of those cases, the page is fine and it's not being penalized, but it can still cause us to get a little stressed out when it's saying that we're failing, contents are wider than the screen or they're too close together. And it's like, I don't wear, it looks fine. And we're looking at all these devices. And anyway, so I think it always sucks to have less data, but maybe this will just kind of give us permission to make those judgments for ourselves. Just like, is this a good user experience? Is this content good? And I think Google just kind of doesn't want to play the game of trying to algorithmically give us the information that would actually affect ranking. They also introduced Google this new Google Reader Revenue Manager. So this goes through Google's publisher platform. It seems like it's kind of a way to compete with like Substack, and Twitter's really hitting creators hard right now. And so I think there's kind of this battle. We know this creator economy is coming, where there's going to be a lot more revenue going to creators, and your reputation online is going to matter a lot more. And so people are just kind of, all these platforms are fighting for that. They want a percentage, right? And so Google's making it easier for publishers to post content on their website, and then people can subscribe to that content through the Google Play Store, and then it adds a paywall unless you're subscribed, and then it shows you the content. I think this is great. I think it's good that content can live on people's websites instead of being controlled by Twitter and these other platforms. Now, of course, Google could get greedy and start taking big cuts once people become dependent on this. But there's always going to be competition. So hopefully that'll keep the cost low. And hopefully this makes it just really easy for anyone to start charging for content, putting up paywalls. And we already know that Google doesn't really punish people much for putting up paywalls. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all these paywalled pieces of content can rank really well in Google, even though you can't read them without a subscription, which is crazy to me. But hey, if you're the one creating the content, then that's probably pretty nice. Also, Google's been showing FAQ results much less often in mobile. So we've added FAQ structured data to a bunch of our pages. I think we should keep doing that because it probably helps Google understand the pages. But Google's kind of scaled back. They're not going to show those as much in mobile, at least. We haven't seen a big change in desktop. And then just a few cool tools I wanted to show you. One is this mini GPT. So let's see. I gave it this. So this is it's kind of like a research project using GPT-4, which is impressive because it must cost them a lot every time. So if you don't know, ChatGPT is going to begin taking in images, but it doesn't yet. But this does. And it's free, and it's using GPT-4. So the example they gave, which is much better than my example here, was they gave it this image of stuffed lobster, I guess, or maybe just lobster. And it said, how should I make something like this? And it gave the ingredients, and it gave some descriptions. It looked like it was in the middle of giving descriptions, instructions rather. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of examples here. So this can be really cool. Again, it'll be in ChatGPT probably pretty soon, but we could use this one right now to play around with it. Here's an example just like one of the ones that was used in the ChatGPT 4 demo. where it gave just a hand-drawn website mock-up and then asked the bot to provide the HTML, and it did, and created this. So that's pretty amazing. I just gave it an image that I generated when playing around with AI tools with my daughter and said, hey, what's this image of? We told Midjourney to create an image of a wolf man, but it does look just like Wolverine. And that's exactly what they said. They said, this is an image of a character from the Marvel Comics universe, specifically the X-Men. The character is known as Wolverine, also known as Logan. And it talks a little bit about X-Men. So it's not technically Wolverine, but I mean, come on, that's where Midjourney got that from for sure. So that's pretty cool. So I think there could be some uses here, maybe in coming up with HTML by just drawing something on a piece of paper. I don't know. Is it with all these tools? You know, it's been ChatGPT's been out for 6 months now, and we're still constantly coming up with new ways that we can use it. So it's just, I think it's good to get these kind of things in our brain, just remembering that they exist, so that when we start getting ideas, we can go and play around with them. And that's how we're going to get better at it. That's how we're going to stay up to date on current technology. And the last thing I'll show you was just this really cool thing that Meta put out. I don't know what they're planning on doing with it, but it lets you upload a picture and then you can animate the picture, which is crazy. And then if you don't want to upload a picture, you can use one of their samples, and then it'll scan it. It has to have arms and legs that are sticking out, and then you kind of help it find the eyes and ears and all that, but it does a pretty good job finding the hinges. And then there it is, just from a picture. And I did this with my daughter this weekend, and it actually really does work well. For the most part, the animations look like they're supposed to. So my daughter drew this beautiful picture. She called Patricia. You can't really see it very. There we go. And then we did this, and then I recorded it with the screen to GIF software, and I brought it into Unity because I thought it'd be cool to take my kids' drawings and make video games with them. But I just made this little demo. All you can do is walk left and right, and we just took the animation and played it. But yeah, we didn't do any animating, no art other than the drawing of this picture. So I'm definitely going to be playing around more with my kids and creating AI art. Maybe we'll make a whole video game. I don't know. This animation looks better because it jumps, but I didn't do the up. Anyways, I thought that was really cool. No use there in the SEO world, but lots of cool tools coming out. And if you have kids, then I'm sure you'll enjoy playing around with that. It's free right now. Who knows what Meta's doing with that, but probably some cool things coming. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I'll try to keep doing these about once per week. And see you on the next one.